1870 Molish Everton 4-0. Nice to be the right side of a demolition job this time round. I'm your host, Dan Bardell. On my own this evening, we're going to try something a little bit different. Going to see your comments as they come through, he says confidently, even though he can't see the comments coming through at the moment. So I have a little bit of a chat with you guys, go through the game as well. Obviously, I was there today in the Holt End, so magnificent occasion. Always great to be back for the first game of the season, and today obviously winning the way that they did as well added to it. It was brilliant. I still can't see the comments at the moment, so that's an absolute great start, but I think that's a tech error on my behalf. This show is in association with Luke Roper. If you use the historic code TVV20, then you will get 20% off everything that Luke have to offer, which will obviously save you a bit of cash. Right then, I've got the chat now. I can no longer see myself, but I've got the chat, so I'm not worried about that because, let's face it, nobody really wants to look at me on the screen. So yeah, like I say, back at Villa Park today, turned up, and it was, Villa Park looked a little bit like a building site. Not so much the whole ground, but more the Holt End today, I would say, which was a little bit disappointing. You'd have thought things would have been ready for the first game of the season, but alas, they were not. But we only care about the football, really, when things are going well. But yeah, things didn't look like they were quite finished, and the Holt Suite not being open was a little bit of a strange one for the first game of the season. You think they'd have had the time to get that ready over the summer, but they didn't. But great to catch up with friends and see so many people. Thank you to all the people that came up to me for all the kind words. First order of business is there is still something wrong with this shirt. I've been wearing this shirt all day. People would have seen the Instagram video that I did the other day, and I'm sat here and feel like I'm playing football, just literally being sat here with a light on me. So I still think there's something wrong with these shirts. So that definitely needs to be rectified as soon as possible. A few questions coming in. Clara and Blue are watching, which I presume is Dan Rollington asking me who the man of the match is. Andy asking me how many signings do we need. I'll come on to all that stuff later. And King 81 as well. Yeah, there is a bit of beef going on Twitter at the moment, but I assure you it's all friendly between myself, Dolan, and Ty Bracey. I've got a story about Ty Bracey that I may well tell later on in the show. So yeah, let's get on to the game. Look, obviously last week everyone was disappointed. It was a bad day at the office. Everything went wrong for Villa that could have gone wrong. Everything went right for Newcastle that could have gone right, and that accumulated in a 5-1 defeat. I did say in the preview that I think coming up against the soulless Everton was a positive thing for Villa, and I've not changed my mind having watched the game. They are in serious trouble, Everton. I say it every season, but this could be the year that they go down. This is like the 6th year maybe in a row they've been circling that drain, and they always just about get themselves out of it. I look at that team. They look devoid of ideas, devoid of confidence. They reminded me very much of that Villa team that got relegated on 17 points today. Just soulless, as I say, and heads drop, and then catastrophes happen all over the pitch. And Villa from minute one today were completely at it, and Everton couldn't really handle us. And I like attacking the Holt End in the first half. I know it wasn't our choice today, but Lee, who sits next to me, is producing the show tonight. We had a conversation before the game. I never used to like it, but now under Emery, I like us attacking that Holt End in the first half. It seems to work well, and I always feel like we get ahead in games when we attack the Holt End first, and that's exactly what we did today. Just from minute one, McGinn was at it. You got an early sense that Leon Bailey was at it as well, driving down that right-hand side, and I think he caused Ashley Young problems. Ashley Young didn't really look comfortable against him, which was a little bit of a surprise to me. There was just the one change for Villa, of course, as well. Pau Torres coming in for the injured Tyrone Mings. Not a massive surprise, because at the moment that we haven't got a load of options to come in and change things around. But Luca Dean continued in what actually might turn out to be his last game at left back. And I will say, I'm not his greatest fan, but I thought he had a decent game today, Luca Dean, although he was given the freedom of the park down the left-hand side by Everton. Their strange, narrow setup just meant that every time Villa moved the ball around, they just seemed to manipulate it so that Luca Dean was in space. And that worked well. And to be honest, that was the avenue where we caused them problems early doors. But just to get that early-ish goal from the captain, John McGinn, Leon Bailey, I've said this before, and someone said it to me on Twitter earlier, and it's completely true. If his first few actions during the game are positive, he then goes on to have a good game. If he gets off to a bad start, that's it. You may as well sub him off. There's no point in being there. But today, first few things he did came off, and he gets that early assist. And from then on, when he's made that goal contribution, he comes alive in the game. And like I say, driving down that right hand side, I thought he was very, very dangerous. It's a very, very clever cutback from him for John McGinn. And it's a really nice finish from John McGinn on his right foot as well. John McGinn's first goal at Villa Park since that Wolves game that we chucked away. I think that was 2021 at October. So McGinn hasn't scored at Villa Park, especially in front of the whole end, for a real, real long time now. And it felt fitting the way he started the game, that it was him that got on the end of something. I didn't like him on the left-hand side I always do this, point behind me when I'm talking about last week. I didn't really like him on the left-hand side on Saturday last week, but I thought today he was busy, industrious, could do all the things against Everton that he's good at, and he really impacted that game in the first half and was a big, big reason for why Villa looked so bright in that first half. And then when you've got that early goal as well, it's important to carry on the momentum and keep the pressure up. And I thought we did that. Like I said, I didn't really think there was any threat from Everton at any point in the game, really. I wasn't really worried. I think their best chances probably came when they were 3-0 down and 4-0 down. But to bounce back in style like we have, and to get the goal difference back already, back level after one game when you've just lost 5-1, that's really, really important. So, yeah, a real good day at the office for Villa. I thought it was obviously a definite penalty for the second. Douglas Luiz tucking it away with aplomb, and it's nice to see him add something else to his game. Last season, it felt like he added set pieces to his game, he added goals to his game, and now just already 2 games in, he's become the designated penalty taker, and Pickford went the right way and did everything that he could to put him off, but he still tucked it away. Douglas Luiz, you don't save penalties like that, and it was just a real positive first half. From Villa. Diaby was heavily involved as well, really unlucky not to score. Unbelievable save from Jordan Pickford, tipping the volley onto the post. And I think that's one of the things I've noticed in these first 2 games, and it was something that Kevin Hatchard said when we had him on. It's just that Diaby is adept with both feet. Yes, his left foot is his strongest, but he can go both sides and he can go both ways. And his right foot volley today was pretty mean and very, very unlucky not to score. And I just felt in that first half we just had an element of control, and that's 8 wins in a row at Villa Park now. In all those games, really, I felt like we were in control of them. I believe Unai Emery is the first Villa manager to ever win 8 home games in a row, certainly in the Premier League years. Anyway, it's just a stupendous record. Again, sitting next to Lee, I said to him, I was like, I don't think we've lost at home since February. I think we've won every game, and saw the stat afterwards of 8 wins in a row, and it's just absolutely brilliant. We've had some bad times at home over the years, but to watch Aston Villa in control of constant football matches in the Premier League at home, thought Kamara and Luiz from minute one were a massive part of that in the central midfield. They're such a good partnership. They do all the things that you want 2 sixes to do, but obviously one of them will always go forward and behave a bit more like a number 8 at times. And Emery's system today, it did just work a treat, because like I said, those 2 were in control of the game. Diaby was popping up all over the place, and whatever we did, it just seemed that every time we attacked, we had Akers out on the left, and that's exactly what happened. Luca Dean was allowed to put in deliveries time after time against his old team, and credit to him, his deliveries were very good today. But like I say, looks like that might actually be his last game in a Villa shirt today, which is interesting. I mean, if it is, then fair play to him for playing, because many people probably wouldn't have played if they had a move lined up, wouldn't have wanted to get injured. But Luca Dean was good today. Like I said, I'm not his biggest fan, but I thought his delivery was good today, and Everton just bizarrely seemed to give him the freedom of the park. And when you go in at half time, you're 2-0, the next goal in the second half is very, very important. Everton, last year, they could be quite late, got that next goal at 2-0 and made the end very uncomfortable for Villa, but put the game to bed with Leon Bailey capitalising on some real defensive frailties from Michael Keane, who I thought had a difficult day at the office for Everton. Wasn't the cleanest strike or the best finish Leon Bailey will ever do in his life, but as long as it goes in, it doesn't matter. And he deserved a goal, because I really felt that everything that everything that was good about Villa today, he was involved in, which was really, really positive. He's, the last game of the season against Tottenham, I think he got an assist in that game, and didn't really do too much else. Like I say, it was a positive action, but he didn't do too much else. today he put in a real shift as well. He worked extremely hard, and it was a shame to see him go off injured. Hopefully, it's nothing long term, and he obviously seems to like playing against Everton as well because he had a good his first home game. I think when he came on, absolutely rocketed one past Begovic, so he's got good previous against Everton, and from that point, 3-0 Villa were allowed to make changes. We could get some players minutes on the pitch. It was great to see Diego Carlos come on, constant move to right back and Cash further forward. And I actually thought Coutinho was pretty bright when he came on as well, but he's just made of paper at the moment. Every time he plays, he seems to get injured, and alas, he's gone off injured today. But it was good to see him working hard and looking interested and linking the play. There's some delightful link up play from him at times, and Watkins had a frustrating day. I think he missed a couple of chances. The ball didn't really bounce the way he wanted. And sometimes with Watkins, when that happens, you can see that he's visibly frustrated, Ollie Watkins. And you got that sense today that he was getting more and more frustrated as the game went on. But that doesn't really help him. He's better when he's cooler. He's more composed. And the second half of last season, I felt that if he missed a chance, it didn't really affect him. Whereas today, I felt like it was affecting him a little bit. He got taken off, obviously rested, probably with Wednesday against Hibs in mind. And then, as luck would have it, as chance would have it, Duran comes on and scores with his first touch. Again, pretty poor from Ashley Young and Michael Caine from the throw in. And Duran looked like he'd overrun it, but he didn't. Well, he did actually. I think he did still overrun it, but he tucked it away, and it's a lovely finish. And then from then on, it's game over. Atmosphere dropped a little bit. It was a comfortable win from Villa. Villa just popping it around. Like I say, it was great that players could come on and get minutes, and that's probably my story of the game. I would say. So I'm going to have a little look through the chat and see what people are saying now. Man of the match for me, as I've said, Leon Bailey, absolutely has to be today. I thought he was brilliant. I thought McGinn was sensational in the first half, but I thought Leon Bailey was absolutely brilliant. And like I've said, he was involved in everything good that Villa did. And it was nice to see him link up with his former Leverkusen teammate Diaby as well. I thought there was some nice link up between them two. And when he scored, Diaby was the first one on the scene. So it's clear that they've got a good relationship. And it just felt like there was a bit more pace in this Villa side today than perhaps we saw at Villa Park last season. There was a lot of moans when Bailey was in the starting lineup. He didn't have a good game against Newcastle and was pulled at half time, but he stuck it to the moaners today. I had so many texts from friends, when he was named in the team, and I said to one of my friends who I won't name, I've just got a feeling that he's going to score today. And he did, and an assist as well. It's a real good day for Leon Bailey. I've got Cami Dizo asking me about Philogene going to Hull. Yep, surprised by that when I was coming out of the ground, and I was told it sounded like he was going to be part of the squad this season, but I think I'm going to sound like Greg Evans there, so warning. I think Villa have got this thing now where if they want to bring someone in, they have to do something with outgoings and have to do something with financial fair play. And what it's looking like now is that the best way Villa can bring money into the place is by selling academy players, because that's pure profit. And it works from the perspective of, if they sell them and they go well, there'll be a buyback clause in there. Villa will have to pay money to bring them back. But for the period that we're in now with financial fair play, that pure profit seems like it's going to be really helpful. I'm unsure what the hold up is with Aaron Ramsey going to Burnley. I'm surprised that hasn't been done yet. I know there's teams, one in the Premier League and one in the Championship, sniffing around Cameron Archer. It seems like Villa would be open to selling him because that would help fund bringing in another front player. And then Philogene today, like I've said, that's taken me completely by surprise, because like many, I expected him to be in the first team picture this season. And obviously he came on and got football against Newcastle. That's how I've pointed again. He came on and got football against Newcastle last week. But what I will say, if it's Hull he's going to on a permanent, it doesn't worry me as much. Sometimes you've got to look at the level of club that a player goes to, and if he's going to Hull, he's a player that's playing for Hull, going to be a huge miss for Villa this season. I think we've all put a lot of credence on it. Well, if we get through these Hibs games and we're in Europe, that these youngsters are going to learn by playing in Europe. They'll actually learn more by going off and playing seasons of football in the EFL or the Premier League towards the bottom end. They'll take more away from that they won't learn from playing a game in the group stage in Europe. So I can see at the moment what the club are doing and why they're doing it. Rich T says FFP bingo. In fairness, it's not usually me. It's usually Greg Evans. So let's lay off me when we're doing a solo stream. Let's not get the confidence levels down for the first solo stream. So yeah, surprised by Philogene, but I think what this does show is, we've had Zaniolo in recent days. I would expect Acuna to be done relatively soon. What I said in the preview stands, that I got told that was one that was happening. So I would expect that to happen. And if the murmurs about Luca Dean going to Nice on a loan are true, then that makes complete sense. And again, you're just looking at the fact of you're freeing up some huge wages there, because I'd imagine Nice would be paying a lot of Luca Dean's wages, and perhaps in Acuna, if it's him that comes in, you're getting someone who's a little bit more suited to what Emery wants and playing Emery's way. So despite him having a good game today, Luca Dean, I'm probably all for that. Where have the dugouts gone, Dan Bowden? It's a good question. I just don't think they're finished. I think like many things that were around Villa Park today, I don't think they finished the dugouts yet. And because it was a hot day, no roof, didn't really matter. But I would expect next game at Villa Park you to see a roof on the dugouts. Mike Roch, not going to say it as he wants me to. Duran coming on and scoring probably pushes Archer closer to the exit door, sadly. I thought today the fact that it was Duran that came on and not Archer in the first place was pretty telling of the pecking order. I've spent all summer thinking that Cameron Archer would be the number 2 striker, but the fact that Duran came on ahead of him today leads me to believe, and like probably everyone else, that Archer perhaps is going, and that it is Duran who's ahead of him in the pecking order. I've got to admit, in the summer, I expected Duran to be the one that moved out on loan, just by virtue of the fact that Cameron Archer had a couple of EFL loans and done really, really well and scored at every level he'd played at. I thought he'd be ahead, and maybe it was Duran that would go on loan, but it looks like Archer's going to go on a permanent at the moment. That seems to be all the noise that's coming out of it. But things can change. Villa don't identify a forward, can't sign another forward player. Archer won't go. He'll stay because it feels like the options are going down each week. Bailey's gone off injured today, although it looks like he'd be okay. And then, losing Coutinho when he was looking bright, just every week at the moment, we seem to lose a player. But again, I was encouraged by what Emery said. He seemed to think it was hamstring and he'd be 3 weeks. But Coutinho's durability is starting to become a big problem now. You get him back on the pitch, he looks bright, and he gets injured, and that's not really sustainable. I wouldn't say. A lot of love for Pau Torres in the comments. Yeah, thought that was a good home debut from him. Not really tested by Everton, of course, because they weren't great. But you can see on the ball that he is an absolute touch of class. Yeah, I think Rich T is saying, does today show Torres is a guaranteed starter now alongside Conte? I thought Carlos looked good when he came on, and it's great to see him back on the pitch again. It was a lovely bit of defending from him, where he looked like the striker had got past him and he just kind of edged in and took the ball with a touch of class. So even though we've lost Mings, which is a huge blow, we've still got 3 high-level centre-backs there to choose from. But because of the left-footed thing and the way Emery wants your defenders to play, for the foreseeable, especially in the Premier League, I would expect it to be Conte and Pau Torres. But actually on Wednesday against Hibs, wouldn't surprise me if it was Carlos and Pau Torres. So, yeah, one to keep an eye on, but I was happy with all our centre-backs today. I think fair play to the team for keeping a clean sheet as well, because they quite easily could have conceded a goal at the end, but there was obviously a determination to keep that clean sheet after the drubbing last week and get the goal difference back level, and that's exactly what they did. Another Greg Evans phrase, he says Martinez makes one outrageous save in every game. The save he made from the Maupay volley, I can't remember if it was 3-0 or 4-0 at the time. That's such... Okay, it's not changed the result, but it's just a big save. And psychologically, I think getting back to 0 on the goal difference, it's not a massive thing, but I think it will help. I think to have knocked back that goal difference in 1 week is a real positive. I'm not good at keeping up with this chat. It comes at me too fast. Richie Ryan, any rumours on a right back? Don't think so. I know they've been looking at La Liga for young future right backs, and if one came available now, perhaps they'd go in the market and buy one. But I think this is more of a long-term thing. I think the plan is, like in the second half today, that if needed, Conser or Chambers will play right back and will be a little bit more compact, a little bit more narrow. And I actually heard something positive about Moreno today. That he's quite near. I definitely need to get that backed up by someone else. But I've heard from a reasonable place today that Moreno is actually going to be back soon, so he'll add another option to our back line as well. But like I say, don't quote me because I need to get that firmed up. It was just what one person told me today, and usually it's better to get this information from two different sources so you don't look stupid. But I've mentioned it now, so I'm bound to look stupid if it doesn't happen anyway. What else have we got here? I think we need a few more. Dark May says, do you think we'll replace Mings and Emmy? Well, I know Zaniolo was being looked at and looked like that deal was well in motion anyway. I think potentially they may have looked at shifting Coutinho, and Zaniolo would have been Coutinho's replacement. And now I think Coutinho might stay, and Zaniolo will be the replacement for Buendia for this season. That looks the right way. I've not really spoke about Zaniolo because we haven't done a stream since he signed. He's such a niche player. He's gonna it's 50-50 whether it works or not. Obviously, from Villa's side, you've brought in a high level player who's won a European trophy, scored an important goal, was a big part of that Roma side. You've brought him in, and if he does well, you've got that option to buy him. If he doesn't do well, we don't have to do it. So I think that's a positive. But he's such a unique player. 6'3", relatively physical, but you don't see many 6'3", number 10 style playmakers, and that's exactly what Zaniolo is. He'll operate between the lines. He'll drop in, pick up the ball. He's pretty silky. He's got a good left foot, got a good shot, but I can't say I've seen absolutely loads of him, but the bits I have seen, he's just a really, really interesting and niche player, an interesting character as well. I think he's had some volatile moments in Italy, which is one of the reasons Roma was so keen to shift him to Galatasaray. I think it was January. They were quite keen to do that. So I think Emery might be the right type of manager for this character. And if he'd have been on the pitch today, that's the exact kind of game that he would have loved. Michael Roch is very active on the chat. Says Montiel is going to Forest is heartbreaking. I assume if Villa had ever wanted him, then he'd be coming to Villa. I wasn't aware he was going to Forest. In all honesty, I've not seen that. I've been watching the Juventus game, but before I came on, looking at Chiesa and dreaming about Villa one day signing Chiesa because within 2 minutes of the game, he'd smashed the ball into the back of the net. And someone's been linked with Villa, and someone I think Villa were looking at certain points, but it would be so expensive. And from what I've heard, he wasn't massively interested in coming anyway. King 81's talking about Doku, go get Doku, but there's a lot of murmurs of Man City at the moment and Doku. And let me tell you, if they're in for him, he'll be going to Manchester City. He won't be coming to Villa. I've just realised what I've said. Really random reviews. Yes, I did say that. Caught out in the stream. Ian says, with the rumours that Philogene is off as well, makes me think we're desperate to generate as much cash as possible for a potential high-value target that maybe we didn't think would be available. I feel there's definitely something going on behind the scenes. I don't know what it is, but they're raising this money through the academy players, or trying to raise this money through the academy players. So there's definitely something going on. I think if they can get in another attacking player, they will do it. But I couldn't tell you, in all honesty, who that player is at the moment. What else have we got here? Rich T is talking about Vlahovic. Absolutely. And I think they were trying to shift him to Chelsea, actually. Vlahovic trying to do a swap deal with Lukaku, but that hasn't happened yet. Tom Connolly thought Dean was class, ripped apart their right-hand side. Completely agree, and I'm going to sound like I've just really got it in for Luka Dean, but I think whoever had been at left-back today would have had a good game because there was just so much space. Everton just didn't want to seem to go near that side, but you still have to go in there and put in the good deliveries, and he did do that time after time. In fairness, today, I think he showed today, arguably today was Luka Dean's best game for Villa, actually, but he did put in some lovely deliveries, lovely deliveries. Pooja saying didn't see or hear a single Everton fan all day from the Witten Lane stand. I mean, you've got to feel sorry for the Everton fans today. They were given absolutely nothing by their team today. Nothing to get behind. Nothing to think that they were going to have a good season. That's 2-2. They've lost now. They're yet to score a goal. They've watched Calvert-Lewin go off the pitch again, injured. So I wouldn't get on the Everton fans back too much because I feel sorry for them, and we're a fan base that kind of knows what they're going through. The Everton fans, we've been there, and like I said at the start of this show, they remind me of the Villa team that went down on 17 points today. They couldn't have reminded me any more of that side, not just because Idrissa Gana was lined up in central midfield for them. They've got all the hallmarks of that side. Tony Sparks, nice to see Young get a great reception. Yeah, I mean, before the game, Ashley Young acknowledged it, and his name was chanted at various other points through the game as well. Where he's a professional, he's trying to be committed to his new club. He's never going to acknowledge those kind of chants in the game, and he made a mistake for the goal as well. You could see he was beating himself up a little bit about that, but it was good to see him get some form of send off, because obviously the way he left, he wasn't really given the chance or afforded the chance for that to happen. So it was great to see. Cammy DAZN again. Thoughts on the 9 minutes of added time? Is it really necessary when the score is 4-0? It's the new initiative. They're going to do it. I thought the ref was a bit overzealous with cards today. I will say there was yellow cards flying left, right, and centre for not very much, and I get that they're trying to clamp down on certain things, but I thought some of the bookings today were pretty strange, especially Archer's. I thought that was never ever a booking in a million years. Tom, people were chanting, "Ashley, what's the score?" I didn't hear that. If that did happen, that certainly I didn't hear that. Where I sit in the hole, and I didn't hear anyone singing that at Ashley Young. I've got to say. Yeah, Everton. But other people agreeing with me. John Steele about Everton looking like the Villa team that got relegated. James Hall, how do you think the Hibs midweek will go? Look, obviously that Villa have got 3 points now. If we were going into that Hibs game off the back of the Newcastle game, you'd probably be a little bit concerned. But now that we've got that win, you've got that early monkey off your back. If you don't win your first game, it's really, really important. It sounds stupid and basic, but it's really, really important to win your second game and not get caught up in a rut of not winning. And Villa have done that now. They've, no one's going to remember that first week against Newcastle now, and then you've got a nice week where you've got 2 European games and you've got Burnley away, which will be hard. Burnley will be up for it, but you'd fancy that we've got a chance of going there and getting something and testing them if we play like they did today, because they're still adapting to being in the Premier League. Obviously, a lot of the players there know company style, but they've brought in a lot of new players as well, and they've got a lot of players in that team that haven't played Premier League football. So for an away game, I feel like it's a nice one to have. Just like I kind of felt like Everton today was a nice fixture to have off the back of what happened. I think after trying to get used to being in Europe, which we haven't been for a long time. On Wednesday we'll have a European game. It'll be, and we get the extra day's rest as well, which is nice because the game got moved to the Wednesday because Hearts are playing, I think, on the Thursday at home. We've just got that extra day as well because the game obviously originally got moved to the Sunday, thinking it would be the Thursday. So a couple of nice things that have fallen in Villa's favour there, in my opinion. Jason O'Brien, McGinn to get a fair few goals if we don't get another striker. Once again, he spent some of the game playing in the front two positions, which I really, really like that. McGinn is perfect for Emery. Like I've said before, I think he's one of the first names on the team sheet. Probably after the goalkeeper, I think he's one of the first ones that Emery looks for to put into his team. He can play left, play right, play in the front two, play in the middle, and everywhere he's played under Unai Emery, he's been really, really good. And you just look at the McGinn that started the season off today at Villa Park compared to the McGinn that started the season off at Villa Park last year, where he was just a shadow of his former self. The turnaround under Unai Emery has been absolutely amazing for Aston Villa, but in particular for John McGinn, I thought he was sensational today. In that first half, absolutely excellent to watch, and he is the captain now. I wouldn't have given him the armband 12 months ago, but he really is the captain of this side now. He drives this side on. He's everything you want your captain to be, and that's the biggest compliment I can pay him, because I wouldn't have said those things this time last year. John, today's game was ideal to bed Torres into the Mings role. I'll probably agree for that. Again, I'm repeating myself, but this felt like a really kind fixture to have after what happened last week. A little bit like we had him the first home game of last season after being humbled at Bournemouth. It was a nice game to have then. So, yeah, Everton are in big trouble, and the fixture list played into our hands a little bit today. But you've still got to go out there and do the job and get the job done, and Villa have got the job done in style, winning 4-0. Cammy DAZN, I keep catching every comment that you make. If Caicedo is worth 115 million, how much is McGinn worth? I caught the end of Caicedo. Well, actually, I caught the whole time Caicedo was on the pitch today, and it was not a good debut from him. Probably one of the worst debuts I've ever seen. And for 115 million, that's not great, but it just shows you how good Brighton are, because these players look brilliant in their system. And I know it's only one game, but he came into the Chelsea, and as I say, it's only one game, but he looked a little bit lost in the time I saw him on the pitch. Yeah, Villa Forever podcast. Chad, my good friend Chad, do check out the Villa Forever podcast. Chad is absolutely smashing it, breaking through barriers. He's looking forward to the John McGinn derby. We all are, Chad. We're all looking forward to that on Wednesday night. Jim Quartermain asking about the Coutinho injury. Don't know, but Emery didn't seem too concerned from what he said after the game, although I feared the worst just by the way he was going down, and we might have to do a GoFundMe for Villa to get a stretcher, because why was Coutinho having to walk all the way around the pitch when he could barely walk? That was very, very strange, and it took him about 20 minutes to get down the tunnel. Where was the stretcher? Not sure why we didn't have one at Villa Park today. Simon Kenny, a little word on a quiet but solid Kamara performance. I think that's what you want. That's what you want from you. One of your DMs, he just went about his business in a quiet manner, and I just felt him and Louise were in complete control of the middle of the pitch, and you can be they were just understated, both of them. I thought Louise hamstrung himself again a little bit by getting a booking, and I thought that one was a booking, a bit silly from him. He needs to cut out the yellow cards a little bit, because he's leaving himself a lot to do, going through the bulk of a game on a yellow card every week at the moment. But I agree with what Tom Connolly is saying. Douglas Luiz is so consistent for us. He never seems to have a bad game. For me, he's one of the best midfielders in the league. He has really matured into a sensational central midfield player. He's absolutely excellent at so many things you want your midfielder to be good at. Douglas Luiz, I've got to be honest, when teams all over the country, I shouldn't really say this, are being linked with central midfield players for a lot of money, I'm shocked that no one's tried to come in and take him from us this summer, because he's absolutely brilliant. Douglas Luiz, so much to his game. I know Arsenal were obviously looking at him 12 months ago and he signed a new contract, but Liverpool, I'm shocked they've not thought that he's ideal for the way they play and what they're trying to do. But pleased with it, because I don't want anyone to come near him. But if they do, they'd have to pay an awful lot of money to get him out of Villa Park. Project Deadlight asking me about Tielemans. It's too early to say. It is too early to say about Tielemans. 2 substitute appearances, one coming into a team that was struggling, and today coming into a team that was absolutely comfortable and just showed some nice flashes of what he can do, some nice touches. It's early games for Tielemans, but again, it wouldn't surprise me if he was playing on Wednesday against Hibs. But he's going to be a good signing as well on a free, absolute no-brainer. And he's got a battle though, because those two in central midfield are very, very good, and I think that partnership's going to be really, really difficult for him to break up. But this hopefully will be plenty of games for Aston Villa this year, and Tielemans will be a huge part of it. Simon Kenny's asking me whether that will be our biggest win of the season. No, that won't be our biggest win of the season. We'll score 5 or 6 in a game. I reckon we'll get more goals, but for a first time game to score 4 is absolutely perfect. That's 33 minutes. I think everyone's probably had enough of me sweating in this ridiculously made shirt. What is in this shirt? Honestly, I'm so hot. But yeah, I'll go. We tried something different tonight. Let us know if you liked it or not. If you didn't like it, I won't do it again. But we'll be doing 1874, the podcast, tomorrow night live. I think we've said 6:45. We're going to be on doing that, myself and Greg. So we'll try and give a bit more of a nuanced take on the game. I know Greg's watched the game as well, despite the fact he's now doing bits and pieces for Liverpool. I know he was at Anfield on Saturday as well. So Greg and myself will be on tomorrow live on this channel doing the 1874 the podcast. So that'll be a bit more nuanced than me sitting here sweating in a Villa shirt talking about the game without really any prep or anything in front of me, and just reading through your comments. But to be honest, even if no one else has enjoyed it, I've enjoyed reading through the comments and feeling like I'm having a chat with the audience. So if I'm enjoying it, that's always one of the main things, isn't it? So yeah, thanks ever so much to everyone that's joined in with the chat tonight, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. Like I say, thanks to Lee for stepping in and producing yet again, whilst Adam is on his last minute jollies. I've got to be honest, I don't even know when Adam's coming back. In all honesty, and do we need him back? Because Lee has been flawless in his absence. This is what it's about. And this is what it's going to be about for Villa as well. If someone's not there, can someone else come in and do the job to equal or better standard? And Lee's definitely doing that for us at the moment. So yeah, please watch 1874, the podcast with myself and Greg live tomorrow if you can. If you can't watch it live, then take it in at some other point. That would be really appreciated. Give all the content a like as well that you watch and a comment. I'll try and engage with some in the comments tonight as well before I go to sleep. And yeah, subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on, because I always forget to ask that. And when you do ask, you actually do get subscribers. So I need to remember to ask more often. Thanks to Luke Roper for sponsoring the show as well. If you do want to get yourself some Luke Roper goods, TVV20 will get you 20% off the stuff that you buy. Thank you very much. I'm going to go to bed and chill. Have a good rest of the evening. Up the Villa.